Right. Welcome. So if you're here, you probably have had, or even more likely, you're currently dealing with shoulder pain. And if you responded to the ad that we put out on Facebook, you're probably an active person and your shoulder pain's holding you back. Problem is, you don't know what to do about it. Probably makes you feel frustrated. And I completely understand where you're coming from. I've had shoulder pain before. It has kept me from workouts, and I know how frustrating that can be. I've also helped hundreds of people at this point get out of shoulder pain, get back to doing what they love. And that's why I'm putting on this webinar and giving you guys as much information as possible so that you guys can stop missing out on workouts, missing out on working out with your personal trainer, stop working out on activities that you love, and just get back to living life however you want. I want you guys to get the most out of this talk tonight. I know myself, I just did this yesterday. I was on a Zoom call. I was trying to learn something, but I also had like 10 other things going on and I got nothing out of that Zoom call. So do yourself a favor, we're gonna be about 45 minutes tonight and dedicate that to your personal health. So close your extra tabs. Don't do what I did. Put your phone on airplane mode. Do as I say, not as I do. And if you do that, we're gonna go over how to modify shoulder exercises so you can keep working out right now. I'm going to go over 3 of my favorite exercises that I usually use to start fixing shoulder pain. I'm going to explain why your shoulder pain isn't getting better if you've already tried some treatment. And if you really listen tonight, you should be able to get a clear path to figuring out how to get back to living life without worrying about your shoulder pain. So some of you on here know me, but for those of you that don't, my name is Dr. Jesse Lewis. I own District Performance and Physio. We're a physical therapy company. I've helped people with shoulder pain for the last 15 years. I've been practicing over 15 years. And at this point, I've helped hundreds, thousands of people get out of pain who are stuck, who thought they were going to need surgery, who had no idea what to do about it. We focus almost exclusively on people who want to stay active, whether that means CrossFit or working out with your personal trainer or doing your own exercise or yoga or any other activity. We really believe that you should be able to keep doing that activity no matter what kind of pain you have. I started District Performance and Physio because when I worked elsewhere, I found that way too often people would have pain and they'd see a doctor, chiropractor, physical therapist, and then they'd be told that they have to stop doing the activity that caused the problem, or that they'd have to rest for 3 months. And I just knew that there was a better way to do things. And we just don't think that you should ever have to stop doing those things or that total rest is the answer. We think that the answer is finding out how do we keep you active right now and get you back to being healthy at the same time. So that's our approach. We really try to focus on getting you back to whatever goal you want to get back to, but also keeping you active during that process. So tonight you're going to get a couple parts of what we call our shoulder pain recovery roadmaps. So we've got 3-step process that helps people with shoulder pain get back to living life how they want. So step 1 is an accurate assessment. So we take everybody through a really thorough individualized assessment to figure out what's really going on. Obviously can't really do that over Zoom. Step 2 is get you out of pain. You're going to get a couple things tonight that are going to help with that. A couple exercises, a couple things to think about. And then step 3 is fixing the root cause. So that accurate assessment will tell us what the root cause is, and it's really, really important to fix that root cause. So if we don't fix that, the shoulder pain just keeps coming back. So I want to start with a story. I love stories. I tell too many stories. You guys can write in the chat if you think I'm telling too many stories, but I had someone come to me probably 1.5 years ago with shoulder pain. He was scheduled for surgery, and honestly, he had the worst MRI I've ever seen in 15 years of my practice. He had a torn rotator cuff, he had arthritis, he had a labrum tear. Basically everything that could show up on an MRI was there. And he was in a pretty rough place, both physically and mentally. He had tried a few things and he was resigned to surgery. He saw a great local surgeon. The doctor's awesome. I love him. He's right down the street from me. So this guy, he was a huge golfer, and the surgeon told him he might not ever get back to golf after the surgery he was going to have. He ended up coming to see me before surgery to see if he could get his shoulder stronger to have an easier recovery. After I did the evaluation, found out that accurate assessment, I told him I really thought we could do one better. I thought there was a chance that he could avoid surgery. So I found he had some issues with his neck, he needed some better strength. And if we fixed those, then I thought he might have a good chance to get better. And I'm not going to bore you with the details, But the end of the story is that he canceled his surgery, he got back to golf, and he got back to working out, doing whatever he wanted to do. All we had to do was find out what was actually causing the problem and fix that. No surgery needed. I actually just saw his personal trainer last week in the office, and he's still working out with her, no problems whatsoever. So that's the first lesson I want you guys to realize tonight. Way too many people think that shoulder pain is just normal or something that you have to live with, or that it can't be fixed. If something is torn, then that's the end of the story, right? It's just not true. We see people all the time who've had shoulder pain for years and tried a bunch of different options, and they still can get out of pain. If you get nothing else out of tonight, I want you to realize that your shoulder pain can get better. And I want you to know that you don't have to give up almost any exercise or activity that you love. So right now, I want you guys to take a minute to think about your shoulder. How is it impacting your life? Is it affecting your workouts? Maybe you stopped doing something because of the pain, or you're modifying things for a while. As somebody mentioned in the chat, maybe not going all the way for bench press or pull-ups or something like that. Maybe you think that your shoulder pain is a sign that it's going to get worse later and you're going to lose mobility of your shoulder. So think about a little bit how it's affecting you. Now I want you guys to think about what you've tried to do about it. There's a million possibilities of this. Maybe you're ignoring it. Well, you're not ignoring it because you're taking this seminar. You've tried to leave, you've tried ibuprofen, you might have seen a doctor, got an x-ray and MRI, Googled shoulder pain, that counts. Please don't do that though. All the information on Google is, I always say you're 6 clicks away from finding the worst possible scenario on Google. But anyway, maybe you tried some stretches. You maybe saw a physical therapist, a massage chiropractor. I could keep going, but the point is I want you to think about everything that you've tried to do to get better. Unfortunately, because you're here tonight, you still have pain, but that's not a bad thing. I want you to realize that. One of the biggest things I want you to get out of tonight, and I've already said this, is that no matter what you've tried before, you can still get out of pain. Most, if not all of the people that we help have tried a lot of these things and they get frustrated. Totally understand. But here's what I always tell them. All of those things that you've tried before and haven't worked is great news, because now we know what doesn't work. So we can stop trying all those things and we can narrow down the options of what will work. So it actually makes it easier because something will work for your shoulder. No one has to have shoulder pain the rest of their life. And then the last thing I want you to think about is kind of where are you at with your shoulder pain? There are kind of 3 stages to think about dealing with any kind of problem. The ignore, the alter, and the handle stage. First stage is ignoring it. Most people do this when the pain starts if it's not too bad. You just kind of ignore it and go on with your life. It's not a bad strategy for a week, but if it's longer than that, then we're just ignoring a problem that could get bigger. So then the second stage is alter. That means you start to alter or change what you're doing because of your shoulder. Modify your workout, you try a couple stretches, you ask your friend for advice, you start to Google things. That's probably the stage that you're all in now. Taking this seminar means you're tired of your shoulder pain and you want to do something about it. It's a great first step. You might not be quite at that last stage yet, or maybe you are at the last stage. That last stage is the handle stage. It means you're actually ready to take care of the problem long term. This takes a lot more commitment, but it's the stage that most people end up in anyway. So for most people, it's just a matter of when, but not if they get to this stage, as long as that pain doesn't go away within the first couple of weeks. If your pain's been there for a little while, it's probably not going to go away on its own. So the problem is it takes a lot of energy to get to the handle stage. But the good news is, once you're there, it feels really good because you're committed to fixing a problem. Then, once you have a plan, it feels even better. A huge majority of people that see us, they say they leave so relieved after just one visit because they finally have a plan that they can get behind. So if you're in the alter stage and you're not quite ready to do anything you possibly can, it's overwhelming to think about getting started, but just think about taking one step towards that handle stage. That's the easiest way. So the rest of the seminar is going to be some of our best tips for people in that alter or handle stage, which you guys all are. There's some great ways to make some small changes and start to do some beginner exercises. So the first thing to realize is that not all shoulder pain is the same. So we give all customized plans to every single person that comes in and sees us. So sometimes we might work on posture, sometimes not. Sometimes your neck might be involved. Some people need better strength, others need better mobility. And my point is, if you've tried a generic exercise plan and it hasn't worked, it's not meant to fix your problem. But there are some really common pieces of advice that we tell almost everybody. And our first piece of advice is that rest is not the answer. And the reason rest doesn't work is because it doesn't actually fix what caused the problem in the first place. So people all the time go to the chiropractor, doctor, physical therapist, whoever, and they're told that if something hurts, they should just take it easy or rest. And that might be the answer for a day or two, but how is that going to fix the problem that started everything? So if you've had tightness and weakness in your shoulder, rest is not going to fix that. The solution is to find the cause and fix it rather than avoiding the problem and hoping it gets better. The other piece of advice we give all of the time is that you shouldn't have to stop exercising or doing any other activity you love because of your shoulder. Whether it's yoga or CrossFit or any other exercise or activity, you should not have to stop doing what you love because of pain. If you're working out with a personal trainer, you should not stop working out with that personal trainer. It drives me crazy when we work with a lot of personal trainers in the area, and you know they have clients that go see a doctor, and the doctor says, "Well, stop working out with that trainer for 6 weeks." That's not the answer. Even long term, there's just no exercise or activity you should have to give up permanently. So instead of avoiding things, let's find what's causing the problem, fix it, and get you back to doing what you love. So if you think you have to give up something, or you've been told that you have to give up something, let's start to think a little bit differently about what you can achieve. I want you to think a little bit differently about that. We've had clients who have been modifying workouts for years, and we've been able to get them back to, push-ups or burpees or lifting overhead or just playing with their kids, whatever it is. The point is, you can do anything you want, no matter what you're dealing with in your shoulder. So along those lines, if you want to keep exercising, but you don't know where to start, I want to show you some common modifications that we give all the time to people who want to keep doing some common exercises. So we're going to go out to the gym. You're going to go on a little tour with me. Oh, that's not what I meant to do. I was just going to show you our location. Nice thing about our office is we're in a huge gym. Luckily right now, nobody's in the gym ever because nobody's going to gyms right now, unfortunately. All right, so let's go over some common exercises that people have shoulder pain with. So first, maybe first or second most common issue that people have with is push-ups. We hear it all the time. They can't do push-ups because of their shoulder pain. And 2 quick and easy modifications for shoulder pain. So the first one is a lot of people think that their hands need to be in a very strict, rigid position with their elbows tucked in or their elbows in a very certain position, and they have to do their push-up in that position. The truth is that your hands don't have to be in the perfect position because there is no perfect position. You can have your hands in any position that you want as long as it feels okay. So my first suggestion, if you have pain with push-ups, is play with your hand position. So we got a comment. Hold on one second. Let me make sure. Hard to hear me. Okay, I'll speak up a little bit. Thank you so much for saying that. So first recommendation, I'll say it real quickly again if you guys couldn't hear me. If you're having problems with push-ups, you don't need to have your hands in a very rigid, strict position. It's actually okay to have your hands in any position that feels okay as long as it's not something crazy. So my first recommendation is play with your hand position. So you can go a little bit wider. So I'll go this way. So you can go a little bit wider with your hands, okay? You can go hands out, palms in, palms out, fingers in, fingers out. Move your hands up, move your hands down. Try those different positions and see if there's a position that feels better for your shoulder. As long as it feels better, it's okay to do it that way. The next modification for push-ups is to just elevate what you're doing them on. So I've got a box here. You might not have a box at your home, probably not, but you can do it on the back of a couch or a countertop or a chair. And the nice thing is you can play with the height. So instead of doing a push-up on the floor, you're just gonna do it on an elevated surface. If that's too hard, you can just do a push-up on a wall. But if that's too easy, then you just find something lower, like a chair. The point is, try to keep exercising, but just find some small modifications that you can do to keep doing that exercise. Next exercise that people often have issues with is a shoulder bench press or a dumbbell press or any kind of press. And my biggest suggestion for that is take your dumbbells and do it from the floor. So from here, coming down to the floor and pressing up. The reason that helps your shoulder so much is because there is the floor there to stop your shoulder from going too far backwards. When your shoulder comes backwards, it puts a lot of stress on the front part of your shoulder. Normally not a bad thing, but if your shoulder can't handle it, the floor stops you from having to go too far back. So it's a great way to keep working on your shoulders and your chest and whatever else you want to work on with bench press without having shoulder pain. And then lastly, overhead press is really, really common to have issues with. So if I'm pressing overhead and I have pain in my shoulder, you don't want to keep pushing through that. My first recommendation is change the angle that your shoulder's at. For example, if you're trying to press all the way out to the side, so your elbow's in line with your body, try to bring it at an angle. Try to bring it a little bit more forward. Play with that angle of your elbow and see if any angle feels better. It's okay to play with that angle. There's no perfect angle. The next suggestion is don't go over your shoulder. Don't go so high. So don't bring your elbow all the way up. You can just come to here. And you're not going to get everything out of the exercise, but what you're doing is you're continuing to work the muscles of your shoulder without pushing through pain. So it's okay not to go through full range of motion temporarily, as long as that doesn't become your permanent way of doing things. So it's okay to modify all of these things temporarily while you're also working on the problem. The last modification I like to give for overhead is using the same idea, an elevated surface or a wall, but you're just going to change the angle. So instead of a push-up, we're now going to drop your head down and your shoulders, and you're going to come straight towards that elevated surface, okay? Because what that does is it simulates overhead press without putting as much stress through your shoulder. And again, you can play with the height of that surface. You can just do it on a wall. Very little stress through your shoulders, but still working the strength of your shoulders, which is so important. So the point is, lots of ways to modify things. Don't just totally stop working out. Let's head back in. Thanks for taking a tour with me. And also, thank you for the heads up on not being able to hear me. Please let me know if there's any issues with the quality of the sound or video or anything like that. All right. Plug my computer back in. All right. So again, the point is there's a lot of ways that you can keep exercising. And I cannot emphasize enough how much I want you guys to keep active and keep exercising. I repeat myself over and over and over again because it's something I believe so strongly in. And I just think too many people come to us telling us that they've stopped their exercise for way too long when they really didn't need to. I think my computer's a little crooked here. My next point is that no matter what your X-ray or your MRI shows, no matter what your doctor or your physical therapist has said, you do not have to live with pain forever, okay? If you don't think you can get out of pain, no amount of treatment is ever going to fix you. So even if your MRI shows small rotator cuff tear, labrum tear, or arthritis, or nothing at all, you can get better. We've had so many clients. I'm going to close the door here real quick. We've had so many clients come in with an MRI that they thought was hopeless, and they're back to totally pain-free living. So if you've had an MRI or an X-ray, I get this all the time, you're probably thinking, yeah, but that's not me. My MRI shows this, or my MRI shows that. And so if my earlier story didn't convince you, I've got one more story to tell. I had a client just a couple months ago, probably 6 months ago at this time. She was really active. She worked out 4 to 5 times a week with both a personal trainer and some group classes. She loved lifting dumbbells, barbells, push-ups, yoga, basically anything with weights and movement. She loved it. But her shoulder was starting to not let her be able to do these things. She started to get frustrated. She'd modified a lot of movements, but slowly over time, she had to stop doing more and more. She was really starting to get down about how she used to be able to work out and kind of where she was now. She saw a physical therapist, didn't really get anywhere. So she saw a doctor, she got a cortisone injection. That gave her some good relief, but it was only temporary. Unfortunately, at this point, she was almost depressed, thinking about what she used to be able to do and what she loved and what she couldn't do anymore. So then she got an MRI that showed a rotator cuff tear. This made her feel even worse. Doctor said, since you have a tear, you definitely need surgery. So she works out at the gym here, and she asked me for my opinion on whether she should get surgery, or even when I think it was when she should get surgery, not whether she should get surgery. And I said, well, why don't we give some PT a try? And she said she's done it before and didn't work. And I said, well, let's try a different approach. Let's try to be a little bit more focused on what you want to achieve and what your big goals are. She was skeptical. She gave it a shot. We worked together for about 8 weeks on a really customized plan that targeted her specific pain. And right now, she's back to working out, lifting, overhead, push-ups, pull-ups, everything she wants to do with no pain at all. She's not even considering shoulder surgery. She is so happy back to working out. She's doing whatever she wants to do. The important thing to remember is she still has that rotator cuff tear, but it doesn't have to mean that she's limited at all or she has any pain at all. It doesn't always need to be fixed. And the last thing I didn't mention is that she's 65. So if a 65-year-old with a rotator cuff tear can get back to exercising, so can you. That's my point. So I've mentioned quite a few times how we really customize our programs to get people out of shoulder pain, but there are some very common exercises that we give more than others. So I want to show you my 3 most common exercises that I give out on the first session. These are only small pieces of the puzzle, but there's a good chance that one of these will start to give you some relief or some improvement. So the first one is one of my favorites for some quick relief. You'll need a tennis ball or a lacrosse ball. If you don't have one, contact us. We'll send you one for free. I've been given this seminar a couple times now. Somebody didn't believe me, so they tried to just call me out on it. We sent them one. I'm happy to. If it helps, we'll send it to you for sure. So you need to grab a ball. You grab a ball here. And let me angle you around so we can see. All right, so what you need, tennis ball, lacrosse ball, you need a wall, and you'll need your shoulder. So a couple spots we're gonna get with this. So we're just gonna take the ball, we're just gonna go on the outside of that shoulder. And what you wanna do is just nice and easy massage through the outside part of that shoulder. You can go up and down, you can go side to side. Doesn't really matter. The point is going slow, okay? And really allowing your muscle to relax to let that ball get in there. We got a comment, hold on one second here. Okay, I'll answer that later. So first spot, outside of the shoulder. Next spot, probably my favorite part to massage of the shoulder is this back corner right here. So the easiest way to get that, just kind of come up underneath your arm, and then you lean against the wall, okay? And then what you can do is you can play with the angle. You can lean more away from the wall to get more of the back shoulder blade. You can come face away from the wall a little bit to get more of kind of the corner of your shoulder. But the point is, try to find a spot that feels a little bit tender. Then what you can do, find a spot that feels tender, hang out there, and just do some light shoulder movement. And that gets those muscles moving around the ball. Okay. So those are my 2 favorite spots to get with a ball. They don't really fix the problem long-term, but they're great for some short-term relief. The other thing about ball massage is less is more. A lot of times people just smash their shoulder, smash their muscle into a ball or a roller or something like that. And they think the more pain, the better. The problem is that's counterproductive, because what happens is the more pain, the more your muscles tense up, and then you're not able to actually massage those muscles or get into it. Had somebody take this seminar a couple months ago, and he emailed me the next day, and he said he's been massaging his shoulder for 4 months. And he got more out of it the next day by doing less than he had in the 4 months prior, because he was pushing so hard. So less is more with rolling. It really doesn't need to be that painful. So that's my favorite quick fix, temporary fix, let's be clear. Next is just some very, very simple shoulder isometrics. So isometrics means we're activating the muscle, but we're not actually doing any movement. The reason I like this is because it starts to get those muscles working again, but it doesn't have to be very aggressive or very painful. So 2 different directions you can do. You can go up against the wall, and you're gonna put the outside of your arm against the wall, and you're gonna slowly build pressure and push into the wall, kind of like you were trying to do this. And you only push as hard as you can without pain. That's why I like these, because you have total control over how hard you push. As you start to get stronger, you can push a little bit harder. So the first one is this direction. The second one is going to be try to do this by putting the outside of your forearm against the wall and doing the same thing. So the first one was the outside of the elbow. Now you're doing the outside of the wrist, outside of the forearm. And again, you're pushing against the wall. So we're pushing out like that. Okay. So those are my 2, 3, 4, however you want to number those. Those are my favorite exercises to get started with. A huge percentage of people that come in for their first visit will get one of those exercises because it's a great way to give you some relief and to start the strength process. So again, if you have any questions about those, we can go over that at the end. Happy to answer any questions about those. All right. So lastly tonight, I wanted to go over some reasons that some common shoulder treatments might not have worked for you. There's a lot of options out there, so it can be really frustrating to know what the right approach is. The first treatment that a lot of clients ask us about is a cortisone injection. It's a really, really common option for a doctor to recommend. The question is it a good option? And the answer is, the real answer is it depends, but the real answer is usually not. There are definitely times they can be helpful. If other things haven't worked, or if there's a lot of inflammation, they can be helpful. But the problem is they don't fix what caused the problem in the first place. So let's say you have inflammation in your shoulder and the injection helped. Now, the problem is that whatever caused that inflammation hasn't been fixed. So if it's strength or mobility or some other issue, it's still a problem, the inflammation will just come back. So you also have to fix what caused the inflammation in the first place. There's also starting to be some research that shows long-term injections can start to make problems worse. So there are definitely times where injections can play a part, but just please make sure that you're also addressing what's causing the problem in the first place. Same thing with Aleve or anti-inflammatories. They're kind of covering up the problem, but they're not fixing it. The next treatment that's a decent option is a good massage therapist. It can be a really, really good option if your shoulder pain just started a week or 2 ago. There's a few massage therapists that I refer people to all the time. A good massage therapist can identify muscular tightness and can really help loosen those muscles up. So for short-term problems, this is an awesome solution. If it's been going on for longer than a couple weeks, it's probably not going to be the only answer. At that point, your body starts to develop compensations, and loosening up a painful muscle can help, but the compensations just keep the problem coming back. So if you're going to do this option, again, make sure you address both the tight muscle itself and find someone who can help you take care of the underlying problem and the compensations. And lastly, physical therapy might not have worked for you. That's really common, unfortunately. Might sound weird coming from me, a physical therapist, but unfortunately it's true. Or you might not have any idea what physical therapy is and you don't think it can help you. And there's so many physical therapists in DC that it can be hard to know what the right answer is. Or if you went to a physical therapist and it didn't work, it's easy to think that physical therapy doesn't work. The truth about physical therapy is there's a lot of different approaches. So the way I always like to ask people is, if let's say you had a wonky wheel on your car, you're driving, it feels a little weird, you take it to a mechanic, and mechanic says, well, I don't know what's going on, can't fix it. Well, you're not just going to go keep driving with that wonky wheel. You're going to go find a mechanic who specializes in your specific car, who can better diagnose the problem and get your car working how you want to. Same thing applies to your shoulder. You want to keep working with a wonky shoulder, very medical term. I use wonky all the time. You just don't want to live with it. You want to stay active. You want to exercise. So you need to find someone who specializes in shoulders and in helping people stay active. So there's two big reasons I see when people don't find success with physical therapists. The first is that the root cause hasn't been found. So there's still some underlying issue. The other is that your plan was a little bit too conservative and it doesn't push you to get back to whatever activity you want to get back to. So if you're not sure physical therapy can work, or if you've tried one approach and it hasn't worked, I can almost guarantee you there's an approach that can work for you. It's just finding the right fit for your goals. And here's what you really need to do to get there. Find someone who understands your problem and takes the time to really find a long-term solution for your pain. Whether it's a physical therapist or a doctor or personal trainer, whoever, find someone who addresses both the symptom and the cause of the problem. Most physical therapists, chiropractors, they're too conservative and they tell you what not to do. And the answer is to find a plan that's going to push you towards your goal and tell you what you can do rather than what not to do. Just want to say thank you for coming out on a Wednesday night. It means a lot to me that you guys said, let me speak to you for this whole time. And it means a lot that you prioritize your health. I know everybody here has probably a busy life, and it's awesome to see that you guys care so much about your health that you're taking the time to learn something that can help. So before we kind of wrap up, I want to ask you guys a few quick questions that are similar to the ones I asked you at the beginning. First is, what does ending your shoulder pain mean to you? Is it getting back into the gym, playing with your kids? Maybe it's just everyday activities without being afraid of your shoulder. Maybe it's staying fit and active for a lot of years. So take a little bit of time, think about what it would actually mean to you to end your shoulder pain. Then think about what stage you're in. You're obviously not in the ignore stage, and that's awesome. You're probably in the alter or the handle stage, and you're getting tired of your shoulder pain. So if you're actually serious about ending your shoulder pain and you want to move into that handle stage, I want to give you guys a special offer for taking the time to listen to me speak all night. So I want to give you guys a special offer on our customized shoulder pain evaluation and assessments. So what that includes is we're going to do a really thorough history review. So we're not just going to talk about your shoulder. We're going to talk about anything that could possibly relate to your shoulder. We're going to do a really thorough range of motion assessment where we break down and find exactly what's restricted and why. We're going to go through a postural analysis, figure out if your posture is a problem at all. My favorite part, some functional strength testing, which tells us which muscles are doing their job and which aren't. After that, we're going to give you our review of our findings. We're going to have a really thorough understanding. You're going to have a really thorough understanding of what the issue is and how it's going to be fixed. You'll also get your first set of exercises, which are going to be very specific to your shoulder problem. So normally we charge $199 for this whole process, but since you guys took the time to listen to me tonight, and I want you guys to get into that handle stage, I want to give you guys a special offer for only $99 for that whole shoulder pain assessment. So it's a great first step for getting into that handle stage because all you're doing is just taking the first step. So if you want to take us up on it, a couple ways to do that. You can text us, just text us shoulder pain, 202-922-7331. You can email us, info@districtperformancephysio.com. I'm going to put these in the chat. Again, that's 202-922-7331. You can email us, info@districtperformancephysio.com. And because I want to make it as easy as possible, I'm also going to put our online scheduling link so you guys can just schedule yourselves. Just select new evaluation when you sign up. We are holding a certain number of spots available for this because our schedule is pretty limited right now. So make sure you sign up this week to take advantage of that. So I'm going to put that in the chat right now. But I want to just review some really important points first. So first, rest is not the answer. Resting doesn't actually fix the problem. You don't have to stop doing any activity that you love. That's not the answer either. It's about finding a plan to get you to reach your goals, not to avoid your goals. I also showed you some of my favorite shoulder exercises. And lastly, we talked about why some common treatment approaches don't work and what you really need to do to find someone who can help you. So want to open up to Q&A. I know we've got a ton of questions in the chat. That's awesome. If you have more questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. Again, I will stick around as long as possible. I'm going to put that information in the chat. And again, love to you guys to get you into that handle stage. Take advantage of that offer. So I'm going to stop this recording.